junkie TV.
Edited it out. But anyway, I was wanting to talk about victimhood and how it's interesting to me that we can go through our lives and not realize that we are a particular way until someone that comes into your life, or someone that says it to you in a way that you actually listen, and that like it penetrates your brain and you're like, I never have seen that before, and now I see it. Like it's as clear as a bell, and I had never seen it before. Because here's my perception, is that I used to always believe that I came from a childhood that, was not good, right? And I felt like I had always accepted accountability for that, and I never said, I never let that hinder me in thinking that I couldn't be successful, or I couldn't be who I really wanted to be, or I couldn't be happy, or I couldn't be optimistic because I had a dad that drank and a dysfunctional childhood, right? So I always felt like, of course I'm not a victim. Like I'm a survivor. Like I'm optimistic, right? So I'm talking with this particular friend that she's a newer friend to me, and I'm just sharing tidbits of my life and different things that I'm dealing with right now and things that I'm going through. And some of the things that I'm going through are like trying to deal with like not resenting people and trying to work on that forgiveness and learn to work through that, and understanding where the issue lies within myself. And so I'm talking to her and I'm expressing myself and all that. And then she says to me, Raquel, when are you going to stop blaming everyone in your life for your issues, or for being, you're being held back? And she's like, when are you going to stop blaming your husband and your this and your family and your this person and that person? And it kind of took me back a little bit, because I had never felt like I was that kind of girl. Have you ever felt like that? Like someone calls you on something and you're like, I've never heard that in my entire life. Like I've heard you talk loud, you're hyper. I've heard you're a spitfire because you're redheaded. I've heard, your 4 eyes when I was young because you wear glasses. Like I've heard a lot of things, and I'm like, oh, okay, well maybe I am that way. And own that, okay? But being a victim, like that never has crossed my mind ever in my life. And when she said that, I was actually astonished. Like I was like, that's what she gathered from what I've been saying? And I don't want you to think that I've judged her or anything like that, because I think that we honestly get people or receive angels in our lives, and people that are there to help and serve in us being our highest, greatest version of ourselves, and help in our transformation, right? And so I really believe that that is exactly why this particular person has come into my life, and I'm so grateful for her. But at the same time, it was kind of like a hard pill to swallow, because I had never taken on that identity of being a victim, right? So after it was amazing though, because I've been wanting, and I've been putting out in the universe, like I really want to be, or I've been praying too, that like, please help me to see the error of my ways. If there's things that are, barriers in my growth and process to become my greatest version, or my greatest, helping me in my transformation, I want those people to come into my life. Like, well, I shouldn't say want, because that, I desire for those things to happen to me, because that is going to help me to grow, even though it might be a little difficult, and it's, it's not comfortable, but we don't grow in the comfort zone, do we? So anyway, my whole point is that then when I was discussing this, and we were having, family night, or like, dinner, supper talk at the dinner table, and I was saying, yeah, I didn't ever, whatever. And when my kids looked at me and said, Mom, we've tried to tell you that for years, that, you're playing the victim, or, you're acting like it's someone else's fault and it's not your fault, that you actually have been that way. And we've tried to say that to you, but you just never heard it. And I'm just like, isn't that interesting, you guys? Like, has that ever happened to you? Like, that you have been called out on something and you're like, what? Like, I don't know if I can own that or whatever. But I think the other thing is you don't see things that you don't want to see, right? You can play a blind eye to things that you actually are not ready to deal with and not ready to face. Because let's admit it, I mean, all of this transformation and this journey to becoming our greatest selves and our higher purpose and accomplishing and all that kind of stuff, it's really tough work. So maybe we can only handle certain things at certain times in our lives. Not maybe, but I think that is how it all works to transpire in the perfect manner. But I thought that was interesting. So I'm going to give you some tips because of my experience of knowing what it's like to be a victim. And you say, well, maybe some of these things resonate with you, and maybe these are some things that you could look at. And I'm only saying this because I know it's going to help us to get to our greater, higher self, and it's going to help in our transformation, and it's helped me along my path as well. So some of the things that are cues that you are playing victim is that you don't take responsibility for every single thing in your life. Say, for instance, you have a hard time forgiving someone, like we talked about on the video before, and you want to say, or sometimes I would say, well, I would forgive that person if, right? So there's always a big if or but. So that means that you really are using that as a leverage for being a victim, because you're not, once again, even if something's not your fault, this is the true identity of not playing victim, is when you can go, I am response, right? Response able, responsible. No matter what, if you can take responsibility for anything that you had to play in that part. Okay, so that means that you're not just going to arbitrarily go around and I'm responsible for that and that and that and that. But what I'm saying is, if you're involved in any kind of thing in your life, a decision, anything, it could be the smallest little thing, be responsible. It could be in a conversation that you're having with your spouse or your child or something. And if you can't be responsible, then you're playing victim. And that's a hard one to deal with, but just no matter what, I have like an eyelash or something. I'm sorry, you guys, and I probably won't be able to edit that out, but it's like, it's almost in my eye. Do you ever have that? Oh, okay. So be responsible. Always say, I am responsible. No matter what, I am responsible. How am I responsible for this? And take accountability and be responsible. So that's one. The other one is, if you are using other people, like if you haven't accomplished something in your life, like for instance for me, guys, okay, so I was very irritated and I was playing victim because I was saying, well, I can't do this because so-and-so has an issue with it, or I can't do that because that's the big clue right there, is I can't. Well, I can't do that because so-and-so has the checkbook, or I'm just giving an example of like even some friends that I know that's like, okay, well, that's a victim mode. I can't be successful in my business because I don't know how to edit videos, or I can't have a website because I don't know how to put a website together, right? So you're playing victim to the fact that you can't accomplish something, or I can't work out because I can't afford a gym membership. I can't get in shape because I can't afford the food for the diet. I can't, do you see what I'm saying? If you are responsible, where there's a will, there is a way. And I promise you, and I promised myself, that if you can think it, you can achieve it. Okay? So this is where you have to be massively creative. And most of the time, or a lot of the time, people want to use someone else as a catalyst for why they can't get what they want and play victim. But in actuality, it's just you holding yourself back because you want to play victim. Because people get attached to their emotions. People like hold on to those things like, and I know because I've been the same way, is that you hold on to those emotions and you hold on to that victimhood because that's all you've got, right? That's the reason that you haven't done what you've wanted to in life. That's the reason you haven't moved to the greatest place on earth that you want to live your whole life. That's the reason you haven't bought that particular property and invested and done all these different things. Because it's easier to blame someone else for you not getting what you want, because then you have a reason, right? It's not actually your fault that you're not where you want to be. It's their fault. And I know, and I'm saying this and I'm speaking from experience. So it's not like I'm like ridiculing you. I'm saying this as that we need to be responsible, girls. And I don't, another one is I don't have a good relationship with my child because of this or whatever. It's because they are a drug addict. It's because you keep going in and out of rehab. It's because they have the issue. Or, it could be anything. It's across the board. There are no particular specifics, okay? It's across the board that you have to be responsible. And the amazing thing that happens when you start to do that and go, I am responsible. I am responsible for this. Raquel is responsible for this. That how it's almost like this link in the chain gets unlocked. It's almost like it's been like this stuck for so long. And then once you start saying, I am responsible, it's amazing. It's almost like it just completely turns the wheel. And it's a beautiful process. So I want you to try that. Look in your life and start looking every day when you're going about your daily activities, or you're talking with people, or you're meditating, or you're starting to understand all these different things about yourself. Start asking yourself, like, do I do that? Like, you don't always have to have someone call you out on your stuff, It's just maybe that's the only way that, because I'm a redhead. I mean, maybe redhead has nothing to do with it. But I am very, very, like, my mom used to say she could beat me to a pulp, and I would still sit there and not do it. Like, I was so stubborn, like very, very stubborn. And so maybe that's the only way that God knows how to move me out of victimhood, is because I needed to have someone else. Like, it was just sheer rapport, because I respect this person so much. And when she said that, I was just like, you're actually right. Like, that's true. I never saw it until now, but thank you for that, because that was actually a gift. And be grateful that you're recognizing these things, because it's a beautiful, beautiful experience. And it doesn't have to be a bad thing. That's the thing, you guys, I want you to realize, is that when we're going through this transformation to become our greatest selves, that it's a beautiful process. Like, it's really exciting, because I start to realize, like, how much happier I am as a person. Like, I'm just so much happier. Now, I'm not happy all of the time, every second of the day, but I can guarantee you that the amount of happiness and joyfulness that I feel in a day is absolutely not comparable to anything in my life. And I know that I am happy almost all the time. Now, I'm not saying all the time, because I'm a work in progress, but you will be so much happier. So think about a couple of those things, and I hope that those help you. And as always, I'm yours until my next swim. Ciao! Away with me on Mermaid Junkie TV.